Hello, Houston Texans fans. Today we have some hot news that you can't miss. So get ready because there's a lot of important information coming. Before we start, we'd like to take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and stay up to date with all the news about our Houston Texans. Don't forget to leave a like, which really strengthens our community and helps bring this content to those who are most passionate about the team. Now, without further ado, let's get straight to today's news. Houston Texans acquire former Aggies WR in trade with Jaguars. Amid a flurry of roster movement for the Jacksonville Jaguars, former Texas A&M wide receiver Christian Kirk has been traded to Houston Texans. Kirk had signed a hefty 4-year, $72 million contract with the Jaguars in free agency in 2022, but as time went on, his role on the team was reduced. After an impressive rookie season with 1,100 yards, the wide receiver faced a decline in production and, after suffering an injury last year, became an expendable piece within the franchise. The Jaguars initially planned to release Kirk immediately, allowing him to test the market as a free agent. However, the Houston Texans acted quickly and offered a 7th-round pick in the 2026 draft to secure the wide receiver's services before he became available to other teams. This strategy of anticipation has been a hallmark of the Texans, who did something similar last offseason when they acquired Joe Mixon just before he was officially released. Kirk's trajectory dates back to his days at Texas A&M, where he excelled early on. In 2016, as a sophomore, he led the SEC with 83 receptions, cementing himself as one of the most productive receivers in college football. His performance at the college level led to him being selected 47th overall in the 2018 NFL Draft by the Arizona Cardinals. Since then, he has accumulated more than 400 receptions and surpassed the 5,000 receiving yards mark, establishing himself as a reliable deep threat in the league. For the Texans, Kirk's arrival couldn't have come at a better time. With Tank Dell out indefinitely and Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins dealing with injuries, the new addition has every chance of assuming a prominent role immediately. Additionally, the presence of an experienced and dynamic target like Kirk could ease the pressure on C.J. Stroud, who is entering his 3rd year in the NFL. Prior to the acquisition, Houston would have likely considered pursuing another wide receiver via the draft or free agency this offseason, but the former Aggies' arrival could address that need immediately. The move reinforces the Texans' aggressive strategy of building a competitive roster around Stroud, securing experienced pieces to help the young quarterback continue his development and lead the franchise to success. The Texans' perfect pairing in free agency is revealed. With NFL free agency opening across the league next week, questions are mounting about how the Houston Texans will approach the next critical part of the offseason. The Texans don't have a lot of cap room to make a number of marquee signings, and after acquiring wide receiver Christian Kirk from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who has a salary cap hit of over $15 million, Houston needs to be even more diligent about how it spends its limited funds. However, there is still a huge opportunity for an impact player to make the roster with the right pick, which could inevitably end up on the offensive line. In the eyes of Pro Football Focus analyst Bradley Locker, the perfect pick for the Texans in free agency could be Detroit Lions guard Kevin Zeitler. Hoping to address their concerns early, the Texans will likely need to acquire interior offensive linemen and even perimeter players through multiple avenues this offseason. Locker wrote, signing arguably the best guard available in Zeitler would go a long way toward improving the team's backbone. In charting the ideal fit between Zeitler and the Texans, Locker sees his versatility in both run blocking and pass protection as valuable upgrades to Houston's interior offensive line. Houston finished last year ranked 25th in PFF team run blocking grade, but Zeitler's 87.2 PFF mark was second best among qualified guards, Locker wrote. He was also effective in pass blocking with a PFF pass blocking efficiency rating of 97.9, including a 96.4 mark in true pass sets. Zeitler doesn't necessarily boast overt connections to new offensive coordinator Nick Caley, but with Joe Mixon still under contract and Houston looking to run the ball better last year, it would be hard to do better than the soon-to-be 35-year-old. It's hard to argue with Zeitler's appeal. At the right price, he's an experienced and effective option on the interior who could be a huge asset in helping C.J. Stroud bounce back in year 3, as well as getting the running game's gears turning better than they did last season. 2. Zeitler. while far from a long-term option at 35, brings what the Texans need to do this coming season as a temporary Band-Aid on the interior. Putting together a pitch to pry him out of a familiar situation with Detroit may be easier said than done. However, if Houston can put pen to paper, the longtime league veteran would be a stellar addition to this offensive unit. Free agency negotiations begin league-wide at noon Eastern Time on Monday, March 10th.